And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day today. And I got to thinking, yesterday really, that I needed to have a topic to talk about on the podcast. And I've got a list of things that I have thought about. Like, oh yeah, these are things I could talk about. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was talking about it in my Discord, and one of my moderators, Satan Sprite, suggested, why don't you just talk about not knowing? It's like, this is something that comes up in my streams a lot, that I have no idea what I'm doing. But I actually wanted to talk about this a little bit from the perspective of a content creator. See, one of the problems I have, and it's a problem that exists with all content creators, is what am I going to do, right? Before any artist will sit down and paint, or any author sits down to write, they need to have some idea of what they're going to do. The joke about Bob Ross and Happy Accidents, it's true. Little mistakes can become cool features in your painting. You have to know what your painting is in the first place, right? He didn't make a happy accident and suddenly there's a giant mountain with a forest on it. His happy accident is, hey, this tree has a really cool feature now because I screwed up this brush stroke. So these are the types of things that you need to start thinking about as a content creator, and one that I often struggle with. Like, what's the plan? And sometimes when it comes to stream, I know I don't have a clue. I'm just going to fire up stream and I'm going to go with it and just see what happens. And often that works. It works great. I mean, usually I have a vague idea of, I don't know what the end goal is, but I'm going to work on this today, right? It's happened a few times. Like, I'm going to be putting up a building here, or I'm going to start working on this section of a build or something like that. I don't know what the end goal is going to look like, but we're going to start here and see where it goes. Okay, at least that's sort of a general idea of at least something to do. Okay, and Minecraft is awesome for that, right? It's one of the reasons I love the game so much. It's like, it really is like, I'm going to just sit down and I'm going to start building. Okay, and I'm going to go. But when you're dealing with trying to create content for, YouTube and stuff, it's like, okay, that can work for a while, but at some point, it's like, I need to know what it is I'm doing. And this was one of those days where I didn't know. But the biggest problem is I'm on a podcast. And I don't have the block game in front of me to help guide what it is I'm going to do. I don't have it to spark inspiration. I have to, I need a topic. I need a topic to talk about. Something that I could talk about for more than 5 minutes. What do I want to do? So I end up, I don't know, struggling sometimes. I've got a list. Right now, there's probably 10 or 12 things on the list. One I definitely want to talk about, but it's a really late movie review, and so I need to rewatch the movie before I can do the review, because it's been a little while. And there are a few others that's like, this is a great topic. I am not ready to discuss it. I really need to sit down and knock out an outline, or really think about what I'm going to do or what I want to say in it. And right, so it takes a little bit more work. Some things like the Ahsoka reviews and things, those were fairly easy. Though often what I would end up doing is I'd watch the show. Obviously, I watched the show once because I loved it and I really wanted to watch it. And then I'd watch it a second time and I'd take notes. And then I would use those notes to actually do the podcast. And it was really nice to have the reminder of what the heck happened in this show. Right. I loved it. What happened in that lightsaber scene? I remember I loved it. It was cool, but what happened? Right. So these are the types of things that I need to do. And when I'm talking about something more involved, or perhaps not based off of some other content, then yeah, it's okay. I need to sit down. I need to work out an outline to talk about it. But I also kind of have to want to talk about it, right? And so I've got, several topics, things that, like, I've got a topic I want to talk about sometime in the future about books that are better for TV versus those that are better for movies. And, I've got a couple on that list, but I want to sit down and think about a couple more, because obviously only having two is sort of maybe not quite enough, right, to actually continue that conversation. Some about things about topics of getting older. That's definitely one of those things on the list. What it's like being an empty nester now that my kids are all out of the house for at least a couple of months while they're at college. What's that been like, and how have I been dealing with that? I want to spend some time talking about depression, because that's something that I deal with on a regular basis. And that feeds what I'm talking about today, the sort of lack of ideas that comes up once in a while. Because depression does all sorts of lovely things, right? It tends to kill interest in things you love, and it kills motivation, and it makes it really hard to do some of these types of things like idea generation. But it is such an integral part of being a content creator, which I am trying to be, right? Yes, I'm a hobbyist. I'm not doing this professionally, which is a good thing, because if I were, I'd be starving to death, because I am making like nothing. I might get something like $5 a month. Okay. It's not anything. I'd like to be, though. And so idea generation is a thing. It's like when I was working on the hardcore series. So actually, even step back further, I had been working on the Create Mod series, right? Been playing Create Mod, having a great time playing with all of that stuff. And I was just running out of things to build. Oh, there were lots of things, and I could go back into Minecraft builder mode. But that's not why I was playing in the Create Mod. I wanted to play with the Create Mod. I wanted to use it to build stuff and to make things, and I wanted to build the factories and all that fun stuff. But as the series was coming to an end, it's like I got starting to think, and this is how I knew the series was coming to an end, is I really started to think of, all right, what do I do next? Not just in Create, but after Create. And my thoughts were starting to lean more on, what do I do after Create? And that's usually a good sign for me that it's time for a series to end, is when I really am focusing more on the next thing than what I'm currently working on. And so, 1.20 was coming out really soon. And I got to thinking like, maybe what I should do is jump into a vanilla series with 1.20. But I don't want to, I'm not officially done with my existing vanilla series, which will be ending actually officially very soon, but I need to do a couple of things before I can do that. But I didn't want to jump back into that, and because I wanted to start fresh with all of the new 1.20 blocks. Right, I wanted to play with like cherry wood and bamboo wood and all that fun stuff, right? And it was fun, and I ended up with actually some really cool builds in going hard. But I decided that, hey, why don't I just drop it and I'll do a hardcore series and just see where it goes. Now, I'm not good at hardcore, right? Some say I'm just not good at Minecraft, and there's probably some truth to that. But I was not expecting to last more than 100 or a couple hundred days in hardcore. So the fact that I made it to day 1200 was a little bit of a surprise to me. And I built some really cool stuff. And I got to build the recategorizer for my Azuma games, which was a really cool redstone build and surprisingly simple in some ways. There's some really technical bits to it, but the build itself is not especially finicky. And I mean, there's just a lot of it, right? And I got to think, it's like, this is really cool. I could get down with this. So I was having some fun, but in my mind, I've always had this thought. It's like, okay, this is hardcore. This series could end at any time because I run into a baby zombie, or I just run into a tree. See, Elytra and I do not have a good history, right? I have a tendency to crash into things and splatter my bits all over the countryside. And to be honest, I totally expected that was going to be what killed my hardcore series. So the series was going on, and I was actually starting to get fairly comfortable. A little too comfortable, it turns out. But there's always in the back of my mind, what am I going to do once this is over? Now, it ended a little sooner than I was expecting. Okay. But having known it was going to end, I've had at least a couple of thoughts. So when it did end, it's like, all right, here are two things I'm thinking of. And I talked about this a little bit with my subscribers in the subscriber-only channel in Discord, which, you know, if you want to subscribe over on Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/musicfreegaming, you can be part of that community and part of that discussion when I have some of these behind-the-scenes things. But I was thinking about a couple of things. One was Skyblock. I've never done a Skyblock series. I did play a little bit of a Sky Factory thing because I wanted to try and mod it a little bit. And it turns out I really don't like the Feed the Beast mod packs. They don't feel vanilla to me in way too many ways. And it crosses a line for me from this is vanilla Minecraft and this is fun and this is what I love about Minecraft, to being this is a game that's sort of like Minecraft but isn't. And it's not, for me, it's just not quite as fun. But I do love Create Mod, because I had a lot of fun with that series. I was just running out of things to do, and it's like, okay, I've got to, I guess I'm done with this. So I was jumping between a couple of ideas. I was thinking about Skyblock, and I was thinking about Create Mod series, but I needed a goal in Create Mod. Well, obviously the Create Mod idea won. It became the series Going Green, which I've just started over on the Music Free Gaming channel, which, you know, y'all should subscribe to and all that stuff, where I'm using Create Mod to craft a bunch of food recipes from the Farmer's Delight mod pack. And there's something like 90 different food items. I thought this is really cool because I can still play with Create Mod, but I have a goal. I've got some focus, right? I can focus on these 90 things, and a lot of them will fall out one after another. It's like, I can, like the farms, for example. I can do a wheat and a carrot farm and a potato farm together really fast. But there are a few of the different foods. It's like, okay, most of this is going to be about the same. I just need to figure out how to dump all of this stuff into, well, a mixer or something and create the foods. Okay, cool. I think I can do this, right? So that was awesome. And again, that's eventually what I chose. Skyblock, and I'll probably still do a Skyblock series in the future. I might do Skyblock with 1.22 or 21, whatever that's coming out that's got the crafter and stuff in it. Skyblock is fascinating to me because you're starting with basically just a cobblestone generator, a tree, and some wood. Okay, it's not much, but it's enough to get a lot of the Minecraft blocks. Okay, now you can't get diamonds, but that's kind of okay if you can get villagers and then buy gear from them, as long as the villager tweak isn't, that their nerf of villagers isn't in that world. Getting diamond tools is fairly easy. I'm not especially worried about combat because there's nothing for something to show up, right? There's unless I do something silly or am building a mob farm, there's no place for mobs to spawn. So combat isn't really a big deal, which is fine because I don't particularly enjoy it. But one of the big things about Skyblock is automation. In order to get a lot of the blocks you need in a hurry, or just at all, you end up having to build some form of farm, which I love that stuff, right? So Skyblock was really calling to me too. And I said, I may jump into Skyblock as serious to play with all of the new 1.21 stuff, right? So with the copper bulbs and the crafter and all of that stuff, right? That is sounding really fun. So got a small problem. It's like, okay, how do I get some of the things I would need? Like, how do I get turtle eggs and other stuff? But that could be really interesting. And so this is my sort of thought process. Okay, I need an idea for a series. What do I do? And I hang out and kind of lurk mostly in the YouTube gaming Discord. It's sort of the unofficial, official YouTube hangout. It's not run by Google or YouTube, but there are a lot of YouTube devs in it, or YouTube connected people. And I mean, it is a community thing. It's not an official Google thing, but there's lots of good feedback you can get. It's a good place. If you're having trouble doing thumbnails, you can get help with designing thumbnails and things like that. Right? Help with video production, and it's one of those really nice creator communities. The Senpai gaming community that was set up by Harris Heller is another one. Doesn't necessarily get into the nitty gritty of like thumbnail creation, but they're great communities. But in the YouTube gaming Discord, there's at least weekly, and sometimes more often, somebody will join the community and say, all right, what videos do I make? Well, what do you like to do? I don't know. I just want to be a big YouTuber. Well, it turns out idea generation is one of the primary jobs of a content creator, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You can be Mr. Beast. You could be me. You don't want to be me. Trust me. Weight issues are a problem. You don't want to be me. No, right? I mean, you could have a channel my size. You could be a channel Mr. Beast size. You could be anyone in between. Any of the great Minecraft YouTubers, whether it's Good Times with Scar, or Impulse SV, or Pearlescent Moon, or Gemini Tay, or Grian, or Mumbo Jumbo. What do you do? What am I going to make? That is always a question they have to have answered. And the professionals really have it all answered before they hit play or hit record. I sometimes do. Right? So it's an issue. And every once in a while, like I was this weekend, you hit some form of creator block. It's like, I just don't know what the next thing is going to be. And sometimes it takes a little tip, like, go with that. And that's why we're having this discussion now. It's like, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And so that discussion of talk about not knowing what you want to talk about and how that process happens and what's going on. It's like, this is a fabulous idea. I shall talk about this, right? This is part of the job, so to speak, of being a content creator. Is it the easiest thing in the world? The heck no, it's not. But it's sometimes you just have to work through it. And unlike a lot of professions, it doesn't stop. Actually, most professions, they just don't stop. You have to keep churning. And with content creation, sometimes you can, I'm going to say coast for a while, but you can work on an existing idea while trying to figure out what the next one is going to be. Right? I know a lot of the hermits are thinking about their season 10 build and what they want to do in season 10, even though they're still working through season 9. Right? Because those base plans, those mega bases that they build don't happen overnight. Right? So that's kind of just a fun discussion, I think, of the whole concept of ideas and sometimes the lack of them. And so thank you for listening. And if you have things that you're trying to come up with, it's okay if you're not if you don't have those ideas yet. Don't give up on them. You'll get there. And I know I will too when the time comes. So thank you all for listening. Remember to like or rate this video on your platform of choice and subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.